Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello, all ships at sea. Who used to say that? Some old radio guy. I mean, like really old, like before I was born. Hello, America and all the ships at sea. Is that Walter Winchell? Who the hell was that? Well, I don't know. Before my time. So, good morning. It's the Monday of Thanksgiving week, and I don't know. So, a lot of people going to be traveling, and we'll be here through Wednesday, and then we're taking a little bit of a Thanksgiving break and be back next Monday. So that's the way that's going to work. I read all the papers all weekend. I don't know that I'm going. Well, let's turn our attention, if we could, to Donald Trump, because the only good thing about Donald Trump is he is seriously affecting the ability of Republican Party elders to have a good night's sleep. And I do appreciate that. So they've been forecasting for months and months and months and months now his demise. Well, it looks like Carson's going down now. But the Donald is going up. Since Paris, his poll numbers have gone up, despite the fact that all the party elders who know politics and the American people said that after Paris, the American people would be looking for experience to keep them safe. So Donald Trump would be in the dumps. No, he's actually attracted more people by his increasingly inflamed rhetoric, which, of course, is also supposed to destroy him. It's not. It's drawing people to him so that he now sits at the top with 30% of likely Republican primary voters saying they want him. Now, with Iowa and New Hampshire actually not that far away anymore, the Donald is positioned to start picking up actual delegates to put in his pocket to go to, are they in Cleveland? To go to Cleveland for their convention. The Republican establishment is going berserk. They really are. And the Wall Street Journal had a front page piece about the fact that this increasing alarm by pretty much the entire Republican universe is now creating such a sense of panic that the Republicans are actually thinking of rival camps In other words, guys who coming together, actually forming an alliance with one purpose in mind, and that is to take down Donald Trump. And there's been a memo that was leaked that I believe the Wall Street Journal got their hands on. And this memo shows that the guys who want to take him down know how to do it, and it's going to be ugly. Get ready. This will be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how Trump reacts to it. Because what they're going to do is, according to the memo, a guerrilla campaign backed by secret donors. They're going to have millions and millions and millions to defeat, this is from the memo, defeat and destroy Trump. They even have a name for this. So they're creating an organization, let me get this right, called Trump Card LLC. Now, the LLC is very important. That's a legal terminology. Legal right? A legal liability? No, that's not legal liability. What is it? Legal liability corporation. Limited. I knew it was something like that. Yeah, limited liability. Right. That makes more sense. A limited liability corporation. Trump Card LLC, because it's an LLC, does not have the kinds of rules requiring it to say where their money's coming from. They really don't have to do much of anything. They don't have to disclose donors to the Federal Elections Commission. There are no restrictions as far as anyone who's writing this piece for the Wall Street Journal was able to ascertain. No restrictions on the kind of political activities that could be funded through a limited liability corporation like Trump Card. So what we are going to start seeing is these guerrilla efforts funded by, who knows, the Koch brothers or other billionaires, with ads and commercials and all kinds of stuff aimed very specifically at taking Donald Trump down. They thought they could wait for him to sort of implode or explode or, just generally, have a freak out where it's over. They thought they could just wait it out because, they have contempt for Trump and they just assumed he would self-destruct. Their assumptions that he would self-destruct have not proved correct, and in fact, he continues to pick up support. So now they're freaked, and now they're moving. Here is another line from the memo that the Wall Street Journal got hold of. Quote, "The stark reality is that unless something dramatic and unconventional is done, Trump will be the Republican nominee and Hillary Clinton will become president." Unconventional, something dramatic and unconventional. So stay tuned, because that means, and when Republicans say dramatic and unconventional, one can only imagine what they're going to do. The woman who is heading this Trump Card LLC used to work for Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. He had to get rid of her because remarks she made that was not too flattering about the intellectual abilities of Iowans was leaked and embarrassing, obviously, Walker, and hurting him. And so, bang, she was gone. But she's going to head this thing. And John Kasich is on board. Cruz apparently is on board. You got to figure that all the others, but nobody has to say they're on board. But according to this, Rubio is on board. The group's memo went on to say it would be pitching opposition research to media in early voting states. In other words, they are going to dig up every last bit of dirt on Donald Trump. And my God, what a rich vein that would be to dig in, right? So every bit, and then they're going to package it up in the most damaging, horrific way. Statements he has made. And as you know, in the past, he has said things that have been, well, frankly, liberal in political terms. Plus the horror of his, of his personal life, the horrors of his personal life, all of this stuff. They are going to package those up. And then, as they say, they're going to pitch all of that research to the newspapers and television stations in Iowa, in New Hampshire, in all the early voting states. They want to try to take him down before those first primaries, because if he starts accruing, if he starts putting those delegates in his pocket, then he's going to be somebody they have to reckon with at the convention. So this takedown attempt is going to happen, I would imagine, in January, probably. Around January, start looking for it, or maybe even next month. A little Christmas, peace on earth, goodwill to men. And these guys will be attempting to, as they said in their memo, destroy Donald Trump. They said they'll also be doing web videos. And the web videos will be the outrageous element, because on the web you can say and do anything. They know it, and so this anti-Trump corporation is going to do what the memo calls outrageous and boundary-breaking or even bizarre little bits on the web, which will appall people, certainly get people's attention, will go viral, will spread like hotcakes, and they can say anything they want. None of this will come under the purview of the Federal Elections Commission. It's going to be a bloody, ugly free-for-all. Also, the memo makes quite clear that what they're attempting to do is to do something so outrageous that they provoke Trump. And a provoked Trump is someone who is liable to finally go too far. So they're going to be trying to get the Donald to lose total composure and to self-destruct. It's psychological warfare that they're doing. And I would think getting Trump to overreact would not be that hard, given his personality. Now, because of this, Trump knows this is coming. If he knows it's coming, maybe he can not play into their hands, sort of like Republicans are playing into ISIS's hands now by overreacting. Maybe knowing that that's what they want, he can deny them that, but I don't know. So listen to some of the other tactics that were put out in this memo. Other possible tactics include phony pro-Trump ads that show him supporting socialized medicine or seizing property through eminent domain, or taking other positions that Republican voters don't like. So can you imagine? They are going to put out ads that look like they support Trump. Why aren't there rules supporting this guy that you cannot actively mislead voters? I know that was so naive what I just said, but oh my God. Also, in the memo, they talked of using a Trump impersonator to show him insulting people. Can you imagine? So they're going to get an actor who looks like Trump. They're going to video the actor saying disgusting things about people, and they're not going to, when they use that, say that this is not Donald Trump. So anything goes here, and they are going to attack his business record, everything. The goal, according to the memo, is not, oh God, this is so Republican. Listen to this. The goal of this Trump Card LLC, whose sole responsibility to the Republican establishment is to take him down, and anything goes. Anything goes. They are not trying to get Trump's supporters to dump him and move to another candidate. That is not the intent. They are trying to get Trump voters to withdraw from the voting altogether. Republicans do this all the time. They attempt to so discourage or make cynical voters that they stop playing the role of citizen and they walk away. They don't. That is such a despicable kind of a goal, to make people not want to vote. Republicans are big on this kind of thing, at depressing voter turnout. It accrues to their benefit. And in this case, they don't care. They don't want Trump's voters to necessarily go to Rubio or Cruz. They want them to just go back into whatever hole they crawled out of. But get ready for this. The Republican establishment, increasingly alarmed by the enduring strength of Donald Trump's presidential bid, is ratcheting up efforts to knock him out of the race, including the first attempt to unite donors from rival camps into one single anti-Trump force. And there you have it. Trump Card LLC. On one level, this will be interesting. On another level, it'll turn people off like Republicans want, and you'll turn away and say, I can't even be party to this kind of crap anymore. I don't even want to vote. Which brings us to another interesting story that I came upon. Remember, Democrats are always saying, I just don't get it. I don't get it. How are all these, look at the red states. Look at these red states. The red states vote for Republicans, and yet the red states are all the states that have the populations that rely on the government programs that the Republicans want to destroy. The poorest Americans live in Republican states. The Americans that rely most on safety net programs, on welfare, on food stamps, on all kinds of, and Medicaid, these are the people that Democrats think, why aren't you voting for us? We are the ones who are keeping you alive here. You're voting for guys who are going to pull the threadbare rug out from under your feet. Why are you doing that? Now, about a decade ago, a guy wrote a book called What's the Matter with Kansas? And that was his thing. Like, why are these people in Kansas voting against their own interests? And he essentially came up with the thought that they're doing it because they have, because of the social issues. They're doing it because they don't share Democrats' values on, same-sex marriage and abortion and guns and all of those social issues make them vote for the Republicans, even though the Republicans literally want to take the food out of their mouths and their insurance cards away. But another thought, another idea of why they don't vote in their own interests was promulgated by a piece in the New York Times the other day. And what it frankly comes down to is that the people who, in those red states, who rely on these programs, they don't vote. They don't vote. Poor white people don't vote. And that by far, it represents who's on welfare. It's not, the urban African Americans in the city and poor urban populations, they don't vote as well as they should, but they still vote. But in these red states, the poor and anybody below them, which constitute huge percentages of many of those states, they don't vote at all. They don't vote at all. It's as simple as that. So it's not that people in those states are voting against their own interests. It's just that the people who are voting like the Republicans better, they also don't want to be associated with the ones who are getting welfare. So a lot of the Republicans that you would think are voting against their interests are people in the lower middle class. These are white people in the lower middle class who see themselves as just barely hanging on. They're working their tails off trying to keep hanging on, and they look down at people getting these benefits, and they literally look down at them, and they think there's something wrong with them, and they hate them, and they don't want to be them, and they vilify them because they don't want to in any way acknowledge how close they are to being them. So it's sort of this weird reversal where they are so close to themselves being in need of the safety net, and yet their pride and their sense of self not being willing to say, there but for the grace of God go I, but rather those shiftless, lazy bums. And they feel that way about members of their own family, according to this article. This has been decades in the building. These are white Americans who are themselves barely making it. Excuse me. They are totally against policies that would in any way redistribute income, even as inequality in income continues to grow. They are in the second lowest 20% on the income ladder. And as I said, those are people not making a lot of money, but they're making more than the guys in the lowest fifth of the income ladder. And rather than feel that they are much closer to them and voting in their own interests and the interests of those people, psychologically they can't do it. That's according to this guy. And I think they have a need to disassociate themselves from those at the bottom. They have a need to say, I am not those people. And so they do identify more with the ones higher up on the income ladder. Meanwhile, the people, as I said, who use and need the kind of social benefits that Democrats espouse, they're simply not voting at all. Voter participation is really extraordinarily low. I mean, it's low among all facets. I mean, all of the strata of Americans. But the poor, they don't vote. Consequently, they don't get represented. Consequently, states turn red. The very states that your intellect would tell you should be voting blue. It says that in states that have recently gone from blue to red, a lot of sort of Midwestern states, a lot of southern states, the fall off, the rates of poor not voting, off the charts. West Virginia, I give you. That used to be a blue state, did it not? Yeah. It is totally red. West Virginia also, you look at the red states and look at voter turnout. West Virginia is 50th in voter turnout of all the states. When they had people voting, they were a blue state. They stopped voting, and what else happened to West Virginia? And Kentucky. It's another one that just went totally. What's happened is those are states where, what? Mining was a big, I mean, they're always poor states, but they had mines. And they had unions. And guess what? Today there is not one union mine operating in Kentucky. So you pull the unions out of the equation, and you pull mining in general, coal mining, out. These people fall further into poverty, have no voice, and the state goes red. You can see the same phenomenon in terms of blue state turning very red and voter turnout dropping precipitously in West Virginia, in Kentucky, in Arkansas, and in Tennessee. So when Republicans do this, pass these laws trying to make it harder for poor people to vote, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They get enough poor people to not vote, either because they're just totally discouraged, or so many hurdles have been placed in front of them. That's a way to win an election. And the Republicans are using that a lot. So, fascinating. So listen to this. Again, I don't think we sometimes get it. Do you remember, what do we say now? Oh, yeah, all these Republicans are saying they're going to get in office and they're going to undo Obamacare. Do you really think, this is what Democrats say, do you really think they're going to pull insurance out from under the millions of Americans who got it? Well, guess what? In their states, in those states, they don't think there's going to be any. In other words, this new governor of Kentucky, there was a Democrat, now there's a Republican, and he says he's going to undo it. And if you ask him, oh, aren't you afraid of the blowback? You can't take tens of thousands of Kentuckians and pull them off insurance. And he said, Oh, yes, I can. Because they don't vote. People, well, the direct quote is, quote, people on Medicaid don't vote. So, let's take it away from them. It seems to me the Democratic Party has work to do here. It's the kind of work that unions used to do, right? But the unions are pretty much gone. And you see the Republican Party very carefully, and going after unions, right? Because unions mobilize lower income people to vote and always have. So you eviscerate the unions, as Walker did in Wisconsin, and you take a blue state and turn it red. Amazing, huh? Easy, turns out. You put up barriers to voting, and you get rid of the unions, and you denigrate those at the bottom, so those near the bottom don't want to in any way have that stigma, so they don't associate with those at the bottom. Caller? Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, I was one other factor on poor people not voting that I haven't heard too much discussion of, and that was the end of ACORN.
Well, that's true. Another organizer. Yeah, right. They took down ACORN, and they took down ACORN with the same kind of nasty way they're going after Planned Parenthood now, too.
Exactly, yeah. That's odd. Like, you would think, the liberal media would talk more about that, but I've never heard it mentioned once.
No. Isn't it amazing how, it takes a while, but these kinds of tactics do bear fruit for the Republicans.
Yeah, it turns out organizing and accomplishing something will bear fruit.
Who knew Republicans were so good at organizing?
Yeah, I think it's the people up to pay for it all. Like I don't know who paid for I'm not sure who. That was a Breitbart thing on.
Breitbart thing went after ACORN. Yeah, but yes, ACORN was an organization that organized poor people, that got them out to the polls, that registered them.
Never was shown to have done anything wrong, but it didn't matter. They were just tarred in the press. And
exactly. That was the end of it. They were
right.
Well, good. Thank you. So all of those, if you don't have unions and you don't have these grassroots organizers like ACORN, then the poor people just drop off And the thing is, there's more and more of them. That's a huge voting block. A huge potential voting block in this country are poor people. It's the fastest growing demographic, is it not? As what used to be the middle class just keeps falling down further and further. And the people hanging on by their fingernails are identifying with the people who have put them, in large part, in that precarious position they find themselves in. It's fascinating. We're talking about, all of this, the psychology of it. But it seems to me Democrats have to start figuring out how to mobilize these people, how to ferret them out. A lot of them also are rural, harder to organize, people who are, geographically separated. And the decline of institutions that used to do it, mostly unions. Yes. So if you've ever puzzled about, how can what is going on? There's all these poor people are voting against their own interests. No, they're not. They're not voting. They're not voting. So, Henry writes, the beauty of the plan to take down Trump is, if they are successful, they will not only prevent him from becoming the Republican nominee, but they will also prevent him from running as an independent. That's true. They're out to destroy him. Yeah, they're out to destroy him. I'll tell you, when Republicans play, they play hard. They play hardball. They always have. It'll be interesting to watch. Ugly, dispiriting, but interesting, nonetheless. All right. So someone sent me this. I mean, I used to have a lot of fun when I was on TV, like making fun of things like how Gaddafi's name was never spelled the same way twice. How, it was spelled with a K, a Q, a G. Any others? K, Q, G, and then after that, Katie barred the door. It was like, I think I came up with, from different news sources, I had a list of like 25 different ways to spell Gaddafi. And I thought, it's so odd. Like, wouldn't major media sort of decide this is how we're going to spell it? But they never seem to. And now he's gone. Well, we got a similar thing going on that's annoying the hell out of me, too, and it has to be you. It's ISIL, ISIS, and now there's Daesh, D-A-E-S-H, Daesh. That's ISIS and ISIL. And you hear people, our president and people, beneath him, all saying all of these words all the time, and they're always and it's a little disconcerting because you start thinking, how can we fight something if we can't even, we don't even know what their name is? Can we agree on who the hell these people are? Well, ISIS means what? Islamic State in Iraq and al-Sham. Don't ask me. ISIL means the Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant. Don't ask me. And here's the problem. Having read some articles recently, the whole idea behind ISIS is that they have to have land. That's why they took parts of Syria and Iraq. They're building a caliphate. They need specific real estate so they can say, here is our caliphate. And then they rule that caliphate. And so first of all, a lot of people are saying, if you call them the Islamic State, you're letting them believe they've got a nation there. Why call them a name that gives them credibility? Do they have an Islamic State? Or did they just say they do? So a lot of folks, also given to understanding the importance of psychology, have said we've got to stop calling them ISIS. It's giving them credibility. The Islamic State in Iraq and whatever, or ISIL. Don't call them what they want to be called. Don't give them that. So that's when you hear people calling them Daesh or Daesh. D-A-E-S-H. Because those letters come from the Arabic. If you were to look at you get a D and A and E, it's certainly not a state, whatever. But if you call them that, you're not calling them a state, I guess. At least to any English ear, you're not. So there are people arguing that, let's call them Daesh or whatever that is. It's strategically a better choice because, first of all, it's accurate. It spells out the acronym of the group's full Arabic name. Yet at the same time, it also apparently, in Arabic, can be understood as a play on words and as an insult. People arguing for this say, hey, look, language matters. God knows it does. Language matters. And by using these guys' preferred names, Islamic State, we're giving them validity. And if we don't, that's got to be playing in our heads. It gives them power. So let's call them Daesh or Daesh. I don't know how it's pronounced, because that doesn't mean anything to us. And it doesn't make them sound as powerful. Does it? Just saying. Maybe that'll happen. Brooklyn writes about Donald Trump. Lynn, most of the Trump supporters I've met are not the sharpest tools in the shed. They are generally blindly loyal, and I'm guessing they'll be too blind to see or make sense of the Trump card campaign against him. Well, maybe. But never discount Republicans when they go vicious on in an attempt to take someone down. They've done that, to Democrats, heaven knows, and often with great effect. But they here using it on their own, it'll be just as ugly, maybe more so. Ray writes, Lynn, I think, like religion, ideology is what drives us to act against our own best interest. Ideology. I'm amazed how the working poor, the middle class, women, and gays have done things, vote or not vote, against their own best interest. I used to think that the rich white men were the only ones who behaved rationally when it came to self-interest. But I'm beginning to think that even they are driven to self-destruction by ideology. Or ideology. Does that work better? Because then you get the ideology. They are killing their economic environment without admitting it, just as we are killing our natural environment. When the middle class and the cities fall, the rich will be kings of a wasteland. Wow. What a vision. Sounds like a lot of movies they're making lately. When the middle class and the cities fall, the rich will be kings of a wasteland. Well, knowing them, they'll still say, yeah, but we'll still be the kings. We'll still be the kings. We'll be eating well. And we'll have all kinds of defenses and walls around our palaces to make sure you guys don't get in. Sounds like every post-apocalyptic movie ever made, doesn't it? This just in. According to State Farm Insurance, Thanksgiving is like the time for house fires. Just saying. There's a spike right at Thanksgiving. And Pennsylvania's way up there. Texas ranks first in claims of cooking-related fires on Thanksgiving Day. But we're in the top 5. Yeah. So, it's one thing to burn the bird. It's another thing to burn the house down. So, got a lot of... Be careful out there. I think this is a result, actually, of people getting into that deep fryer turkey thing. Because those deep fryers those things can explode. And they have. You have to be very careful. And I guess a lot of Americans who've been literally burned attempting to deep fry a turkey, they aren't doing it as much anymore. It's losing its allure. Although in my family, we've been deep frying a turkey. We do 2 turkeys, one deep fried, one normal old regular one. And my nephew is in charge of the deep frying, and he's very, very careful. Scares me. I don't even go near it when it's happening. It's apparent, but man, it's a good bird. Always is. Okay, what else? I mean, I think of, I guess Saturday Night Live, I didn't see it, did a skit on Thanksgiving dinners. People, I would think this Thanksgiving is going to see an awful lot of ugliness around a lot of dinner tables. What do you think? Because when family, this is one of those, when extended family might be coming together and people who don't think alike, and someone's going to say something and all hell's going to break loose. I think worrying less about burning the house down, I'd worry about blowing up the entire family on Thanksgiving. I mean, does anyone not have a family that doesn't have... I get an impression your family's all on one page politically. Celine is one of the few people I know that has a family that, like, everybody agrees. But, I mean, in my immediate... not even in my immediate, but when you start adding in cousins, oh boy, or aunts and uncles, you get... my family, we've got some seriously right-wing. Obama isn't an American. I'm not kidding. In my family, these are not my immediate, but people who I love, people who, travel across the country to come to my son's bar mitzvah, people who show up at every family event and who care about me. But they're totally on the other side. And I don't know how and I got it on both sides, my father's side and my mother's side. How my mom and dad both represent the absolute more liberal ends of their families. And so there's all these, wow. And there have been rifts. I mean, there have been. I even remember dinner tables in the Vietnam War, where things got really ugly. And me not being able to stand this one cousin of mine. And now, of course, we've come full circle. We've talked about how much I couldn't stand him and because of Vietnam. And I'm sure we now disagree totally on this other thing, but I mean, I hate it when these things cause family rifts because, as I said, I mean, the people in my family who are that far off, the deep end when it comes to right-wing politics, I know their hearts and I could count on them I mean, those are people who care about me. I ain't going to throw them out just because they're misinformed. I'm also not going to try to change their minds. And they're always trying to lure me into conversations. Come and tell us what you think about. Come and tell us what you think. And I always say to them, no, And they get upset because they do want to talk to me about it. I will not talk. I will not engage them because it ain't going to lead anywhere good. I'm not going to change their minds. They aren't going to change my mind. All that's going to happen is we're going to get upset. What else happens? So I'm an absolutist on this. I will not. If it turns political, I get real quiet. And I wish you all the best if any of you are going into this sort of fraught territory. Because, Thanksgiving should be a warm, nice, familial holiday. Oh, I just said Thanksgiving. And that reminds me, I pronounce a lot of words differently than a lot of you guys do. What do you say? Do you say, where's your, I hear around here a lot, Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. I say Thanksgiving. I hear around here umbrella. I say umbrella. Okay. Hello, caller.
Good morning, Lynn. It's Dave from Washington.
It's Dave from Washington. Hi.
Hi. You're talking about family members who are not like the rest. That's my family. Our parents are gone, but there's 4 of my generation and then 8 of the following.
Yeah.
And 3 of us are all very left-wing, and then there's my sister, who is so far out there that it's just unimaginable.
But you love her.
Yeah, but you know what else? We totally avoid her.
Yeah, well,
I mean, we really do. She's kind of been ostracized from the family. She's a wonderful, sweet, sweet person. Do not talk politics or religion because she is whacked.
Okay, so I was going to say, is it religiously based? So it is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oil is God's gift to us, and it's never going to run out because God is always going to make sure we have more. I mean, that's how far out it is.
Oh, God, even mine aren't that bad.
She would, her dream ticket would be Dick Cheney and Sarah Palin. I mean, that's how. But anyways, we all ignore her, and it is really kind of ugly. And even when you're not talking politics and religion, she finds a way to sneak it in there. Every time. Every Fox talking point you can imagine, she's got them all down, written on her heart, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And it is kind of sad that she's completely ostracized herself from everybody except her own little nuclear family.
Well,
it's kind of a bummer, but, that's just the way it is. She's done this over 15 years or so, and the rest of us have just had it. There's just no convincing her or even discussing.
But she still comes. You still all get together.
Not very often.
But Thanksgiving you do.
No, very, very, very seldom. We're all spread out all over the country.
Oh, okay.
So we're not even really localized. My sister lives close to me. But then the rest of us are all, there's Arizona and there's eastern Pennsylvania. On those rare occasions when we do all get together, it's a very, very short period of time. I'm talking half hour. We'll leave her out, and the rest of us will get together and have a good time. But it's kind of sad.
Yeah, that is sad.
And so, as far as I'm concerned, my mom has a lot of explaining to do, how this person is from the same genetic pool. But that's just the way it is, We just can't handle it anymore. Just can't stand it. So, fine. You want to be on the outside, you're on the outside. Every now and then we exchange polite emails, but that's about it.
Wow. That's too bad.
Yeah, and it's all, it's Fox and it's...
Well, you know what? There's a lot of people writing stories now. I keep seeing them accusing Fox News of destroying their relationship with their parents or with their father. I've seen a lot of articles like that. How, my dad used to be this wonderful, sweet soul, and now he is this mean, scared, blah, blah, blah. There's been a lot of stuff written about, Fox News took my dad.
Have you ever watched it?
Very rarely. My son tortures me every once in a while by putting it on.
Every now and then, just for the heck of it.
No, I know. It's amazing. It's amazing. It really is.
And imagine sitting there for hours and hours and hours a day and for years and having this stuff.
It does. It's a total brainwash. Yeah.
It ruins your brain. It melts your brain.
I wonder if there's interventions. I know families have actually done interventions trying to, save a parent who's been brainwashed by Fox.
Yeah, it's terrible. Fox and Limbaugh and all those guys, she loves it, and she just eats it all up for, 8, 10, 12 hours a day. on constantly in our house. And no wonder it drives you crazy. That stuff is just pollution. But okay, well, that's all I wanted to tell you.
Well, thank you.
You're
Happy
very welcome.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you
Yeah,
and your son.
thank you. You too, Dave. Thanks. Bye. William writes, I avoid ISIS and ISIL because don't say those, he's saying, because their egos want those names. Islamic State. So it gives them legitimacy. Daesh resembles a word meaning sower of discord. Well, that is what they are. I like Daesh simply because it's more accurate. Well, also, if it just doesn't give them their damn state, not in our ears. I mean, to an Arabic ear, Daesh would be, but we don't speak Arabic, so Islamic State, anytime you call it that, you're giving them their damn state. They're not recognized by any nation on earth as another nation. So don't give them the pleasure. I think it's a it might seem like a small thing, but psychology is powerful stuff. So I say, I ain't saying it anymore, Islamic State. I ain't. I might stumble a few times, but I'm going to try to stop. Gosh, there was this unsettling story I read. This is in the medical stuff. So let's say you know someone and they've always had, someone close that you live with, and all of a sudden you notice they're laughing at stuff they never used to laugh at. And what I'm talking about most specifically is slapstick. Now, we got a call. Hello.
Hello. Hey, I'll make this pretty quick as I usually do. Did you happen to see this morning when John Kerry was on, and I said I wasn't going to watch him, but with Savannah Godfrey or whatever her name is?
No.
She kept grilling him on the France and the freak bombings that happened, even the Russian bombing. Like it was the United States' fault that we weren't doing enough for terrorism, and it was our fault. That proved that we're not doing. What the hell are the other countries doing? I get tired of the United States getting blamed for the terrorism of ISIS. I mean, what are the people doing overseas?
Well, I think if we have some blame in that ISIS came out of the ruin of Iraq that we created by invading Iraq. Okay, so that's where we were the midwife at the birth of these people. But to say that we were supposed to be on top of, the Russian, no, we helped to, we created an environment that gave rise to these people who are now terrorizing the world. And we got to own that. That's true. But it doesn't mean that everybody else doesn't have to fight. I mean, we all got to, what's done is done. Let's not compound things by making the same mistakes again, which is amazing to me that any American would think it's a good idea to go back to the Middle East and put more of our people in uniform on the ground, as we say, when it went so well the last time we did it, and the time before that, and the time before that. I mean, how many times do we have to see that we can't do it that way? It ain't happening.
Well, that's what I don't understand what they want Obama
I don't know. People want everybody. If you're sitting,
it's a slow process to get rid of terrorists. Even if you had 100,000 troops down in Iraq and Syria around Syria, you would still have these terrorists.
Yeah, it's hard.
So it has no effect.
Well, it's hard to fight an entity that has no home, despite what they say, has no state, has no, is not a nation in any way, and also has all these, it's scattered around the globe. It's an individual here and 5 guys over there, and very hard, and it'll take a long time.
For the problem, there isn't a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I mean, what can you do? And the people that caused it was George W. Bush. Let's just remember don't blame it on Obama.
No.
He came in a bad economy and everything, but they want to throw it in his face.
Right.
And he's not one that created it.
Right. I agree.
It makes you so mad.
I agree.
And that's the liberal media. I mean, on today's show, they're pretty much liberal. They used to be. I don't know. Wonder about them sometimes. But she was giving them a hard time. And I think they're doing everything they can. I don't know what else they can do, really.
Don't ask me. I don't have a clue.
It just irritates me how people are so scared of all this bullshit. And the chances of that happen over here, I mean, it might happen, but chances are it won't.
Okay.
We're pretty much on top of it with the security and that. It's unbelievable.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, have a
Bye.
happy Thanksgiving.
You too. Let me tell you what I think. I think we're not on top of it. I mean, we are to us. Who the hell knows? There will be an attack here. There will be. To think that there won't is absurd. We can't protect every square inch of the country 24 hours a day. It's too big. It's impossible. And one human being can create the terror. One. So I fear when that happens that America, which seems to have gone all wobbly with Paris, can you imagine what it'll do if we get hit like Paris got hit? All emotion and no reason. Everybody just panic. It's what we've become really good at. Panic. It's unpleasant. Well, I was about to tell you something and time's run out, so I can't. It has to do with slapstick, sense of humor. I'll get on it tomorrow maybe. Susan will join us. And we can talk about that some. Oh, dear. Okay? Enjoy the day. Stay warm. Yeah. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.